Welcome to the World Snacks Championships. Today we have 12 of the most irresistible, most diabolically addictive snacks on the market. All of our challenges today are the kind that you finish half the packet before you even get to choosing your show. We'll first be putting them in the group stage where they will compete within their respective categories, namely old school, traditional, chips, and a mystery category. I'll be scoring them all to a maximum of 10 points. The top of each group will then proceed to a playoff bracket where I'll choose a winner in each matchup. Eldrick, where can I get the snacks featured today? You can click through on any of the links in the video description and it will bring you to SHOPEE. I'll indicate how much I paid for the snacks, but as usual, please check if there are any flash deals or SHOPEE vouchers that you can use before buying. Alright, let's get started with our first group, the old school. We are starting the day off with Super Ring. I don't know where you're watching this from, but this is my childhood, man. Back in my day, I used to save 20-30 cents from my pocket money in order to buy this after school. But enough yap, let's bust this open. Oh my word. When was my last Super Ring, man? Did they make this smaller? Anyway, first snack of the day. Oh my god. I am flooded with nostalgia. I cannot... Wow, this is a first eh. I've never been so biased on this channel. Oh, this taste. The crisp is super light. It provides the first crisp and then it just goes away, melts away. The flavor is salty, cheesy. The common critique that I have for such seasoned snacks is that its intensity is usually dialed up to 11. It tastes crazy. But the Super Ring doesn't. In the previous video, I said something like there are very few things that I enjoy to the same extent as an adult and as a kid. I said that about the 100 Charmy. I can say the same about these two. Wow! I guess we set the tone early. This is gonna be rather biased. I'm giving this an 8-8. If not for the fact that the camera is rolling, I would have finished that packet. So before we do that, let's move on to the next snack. Another OG, Muruku Ikan. Specifically this Popo brand. I imagine this is nostalgic to a lot of people as well. Muruku is a Indian snack, but this is a commercialized take on it. It's mainly made out of dal and seasonings. So let's get to it. What a snack! It is so hearty, it's rather thick, it's crunchy and yes, the starch still has enough body. On top of that, there's the funk from the fish sauce and a little bit of spice. I don't like that the first crunch is very tough. It's not a pleasant crunch, it's quite a tough crunch. But the flavor, wow, the flavor is... Ah! These are some tasty stuff, man. I'll give this an 8-3. I forgot how addictive Muruku was already. Damn, good stuff. Let's move on to another classic. The potato wheel cracker. Does it get any more OG than this? To be honest, I don't even know what this is made of. I think it's like flour and salt, maybe potato starch. Let's try it. Ooh, the smell. Let's do 3 in a row. Coming from the previous two snacks, it is obvious to me that this seasoning is lousier. It is sharper, saltier, and more uneven. While in the previous snack, I feel like maybe the flour itself was seasoned. They don't depend too much on the powder seasoning. This one I feel like almost eating granules of salt every now and then. And the fragrance is not as good as the previous few. There's almost a nice cheesy finish to it, and it is addictive, obviously, but pales in comparison. The wheel crackers get a 7-8, which means the winner of this group going into the playoffs is Super Ring. Let's move on to our next category. For our next category, we have the traditionals. These are snacks that your grandparents will want a piece of. Recipes that have been around for 100 years, maybe. And we are starting off with Emping Melinjo. So these are melinjo seeds, harvested, processed, but most importantly, flattened and then deep fried. They then pair it with a sauce, and this is what we have. There are many brands out there, but a lot of you suggested this one specifically. So it's kind of like this, almost like a huge cornflake. Let's give it a go. Wow. I've had this before, but now having it again after the previous category, this is quite the gourmet snack. It is incredible the depth of flavor it has, despite only having 8 ingredients. The melinjo seeds, sugar, salt, red chili pepper, coriander, garlic, and vegetable oil. And then the key factor when it comes to such melinjo chips is the bitter aftertaste, iconic of the snack. It's managed so well, I don't know how they do it, but the bitterness gives sophistication and does not make you recoil. The crunch is a tad tough from the caramel that has crystallized, but damn, super well seasoned, sweetness just right, spiciness just right. This gets a 9-2. I have had Melinjo seeds before. Sometimes it can get quite bitter. This is done very well. On to the next one. For the next snack, we have Tempeh Chips by Woe. I got the black truffle flavor because it sounded most interesting. Personally, I really like tempeh. The umami that it has is incredible. Not to mention the texture, although we should be expecting something very different here. Oh, it's quite a big chip. Oh, interesting. They flatten the tempeh and then they fry it. Let's give it a go. The truffle smell is not very strong. The seasoning is average, but the black truffle is managed well. Doesn't smell like a petrol station. My initial impression was that this does not taste enough like tempeh, because if you look at the chip, the beans are rather far apart, which volume-wise makes you feel like you're eating more flour than the bean, as compared to the usual tempeh where you are biting straight into the beans. But after having a few, the bean umami builds on you, and then that tempeh punch follows. I quite like this, but I don't think the seasoning is as accurate, addictive. It's making me imagine that this could be done better. Still, pretty good. I'll give this a 8-1. Let's move on to yet another bias. The Keropok. Arguably one of the most influential snacks in this part of the world. Not only just a Keropok, but this dirty looking, really deep color ikan Keropok. My favorite kind. All due respect to the more refined, more elegant Keropoks, like the prawn one where there's a nice color, very regular shape, very pretty. But this is the kind, this smelly kind is the one that I like. So let's cut this open. Oh, it stinks. Wow. This umami is like a tsunami, man. It's so unrelenting. If you want to stop eating, you need to leave after the first or second piece. Because once the umami snowballs in your mouth, the pungency of the fish flavor, and yet strangely it's not fishy. It has already become another kind of flavor. Or at least not what I would describe as fishy. And this is what you always want to see, a short ingredients list. Dried herring fish, salt, sugar, vegetable oil. Although I think you kind of have to put flour inside, unless I'm wrong, there's no flour in this. Wow, I won't say this about many snacks today, but this is goated. This might be one of my favorite snacks of all time. This gets a 9.5. Oof, this is brutal. Okay, enough of reminiscing. Let's go a little bit more supermarket. Now for our next category, we have chips. You can't talk about snacks without talking about chips. And we are starting off with Kettle brand, Honey Dijon. Full disclosure, I've never had this before, even though I've seen it many times. And some of you even tell me to freeze this. I don't know whether you're trolling me or not, but apparently a hack is to freeze these chips before having. I'm just gonna have it OG for this video. Good chip. Good seasoning with the honey powder and the mustard, and then brightened by the acidity. There is a certain sophistication and addictiveness. But more importantly, the potato. It seems like some of it still has its skin on the sides, which gives it more of that potato flavor. One of the main things I look for in the potato chip. I feel like too many potato chips don't taste like potato anymore. It just tastes like seasoning. This one still has. Although I would say, the seasoning is still a little bit loud for me. While seasoning is very important, very fun, I like potato chips where I can taste potato. In fact, if you make your own potato chips and then you just go in with salt and pepper, it's already very nice. Potato already has such a nice, satisfying flavor to it. But this still, good potato chip. I'll give it an 8.5. Let's move on to the next chip. The next chip is the Orion turtle chip. Corn soup flavor. We have a very cute turtle with a cowboy hat. But more interestingly, is the texture of this chip. There's like this built-in multiple layer that they describe as a turtle shell. A strong wave of corn as you open up the bag. And this is a full bag. Anyway. What a texture. What a texture. Damn. The 4 layers, very brittle. It breaks with very little strength. Makes chewing through it so fun. It's so big in terms of volume, but it just collapses really quickly. Not only that, I think it's what the flour is made of, but when it comes in contact with your tongue, it disappears so fast. If you look closer, you can see how airy the chip is, which means that weight-wise this is actually very low, but incredible chip. The texture and consistency of chips are underrated. This kind of like multi-layer, super crispy, brittle, super airy is something you might expect in a fine dining during the one-biters. Really impeccable texture, I have to say. However, I'm not a big fan of the corn flavor. This is personal preference. I wonder if they have other flavors. Oh, this texture is, I want to say, the best so far today. If I like the flavor, this is easily 9 plus already. This gets an 8.6. Let's move on to one of the most popular chips of all time. The Calbee potato chips. Hot and spicy. By right, this probably could qualify under the first category, old school, but I think it identifies more as a chip. So, great spiciness, great flavor. I like that the potato chip is such a nice crisp. You can see that within the potato chip, it has some bubbles going. It's like expanding from inside, which gives this a very nice texture. Like whatever your opinions of potato chips are, right, they're so consistently perfect. The thing that is not perfect is what I mentioned just now. This seasoning is crazy. It's like, what the hell? Nothing in the real world is seasoned like this. It's super intense, it's super sharp, very loud. Maybe it's not made for a palate like mine, but I cannot eat a lot of this. It doesn't taste real. A weird critic for potato chips, but yeah, this is how I feel. I have to give it credit though for the flavor and the texture. So this gets a 6.5. Which means, wow, the one moving on from this category is actually the Orion turtle chip. Interesting. And now to our mystery group. In every tournament, there is a group of death, where all the contenders are potentially tournament winners. For today, this group is the group of skins. I have never managed to stop eating this until I finish the packet. Maybe today is the day, because for our first contender, I bought the crispy fish skin. At the time of buying, I saw that this packet was $13.50, so I didn't think too much into it. I even saw that they wrote 600 grams on the description, but I was like, 600 grams? Not a lot. But as it got delivered, it suddenly occurred to me 600 grams of steak is not 600 grams of crispy fish skin. This is like what people would buy if they were selling bar snacks. And it's $13.50. Anyway. Ooh, wow. It's really high quality. The pieces are so big. Look at this. Let's give this a go. Absolutely diabolical. There really isn't anything added to it. Starch on the fish skin, maybe a little salt, no extra seasoning. But the natural umami just brings it so much further. Texture is great as you can see, super big piece. You can break it down as you like. Damn, I had to put all of this in this group because if not the finals would just be skins on skins. The fish skin gets a 9.2. Moving on to our next skin, yet another super addictive one. Crispy pork rinds. Can I say that this is Thai? It might be Filipino with chincharron also. But what I do know is that it's super delicious. Let's get a piece. Absolutely wow. It's like eating pork lard without the oiliness. Like every pork lard. The umami speaks for itself, the texture is so nice and puffy, and coming from the previous category, the chips, this tastes so natural. Can I say this is also one of my favorites of all time? I will admit though, when you eat a lot of this, it gets a little bit drying, a little hard to swallow, but a price that you are more than willing to pay. The pork rinds gets a 9.4. Let's move on to our last skin of the day. Chicken skins. This I never actually had as a snack. I've only ever had this in KFC or my self-made one. So this, I'm actually quite excited to try this. Seems to be quite nice big pieces also. Anyway, let's try the chicken skin. Huh, wow, unlucky. They have battered the chicken skin with a ton of flour, as you can see it on these bits on the top. Over battered, I want to say. But the worst thing is, the oil from the chicken, or maybe the frying process, is being stored in all these bits of flour, making it very greasy and not in a good way. The whole flavor becomes more dull. Oh, the greasiness is really killing my appetite. Unlucky, wow. It's actually quite a big miss. I have never not wanted to eat chicken skin until today. This gets a 6.2, which means the snack moving on to the next stage is the crispy pork rinds. Again, here are the winners from the group stages. So let's move on to the playoffs. For the first matchup, we have Super Ring versus Keropok. Oh my goodness. The old school versus the old school. Now that I'm pretty full, let's try Super Rings again. Wow, still this draw, man. Super Ring is actually goated. And then the competitor, Keropok. I don't believe it. Winner of the first semi-final is Keropok. This flavor that you can only get by venturing into the pungency, the smelliness, which then builds into addictiveness. The snowball is very real. Really, after 3-4 pieces, right? Oh, the flavor really builds on you. Let's move on to the next semi-final. For semi-final number 2, we have the Orion turtle chips versus crispy pork rinds. A contest of textures, if I may say so. What a texture, man. Oh my goodness. I will call it right now before I even announce the results of these semi-finals. This has the best texture of the day. But will it be good enough to beat the pork rind? Winner of the second semi-finals is crispy pork rinds. The moment I put it into my mouth, the flavor just overtook this corn soup. This natural umami of pork fat is just too real. Which means we have our 2 finalists. The Keropok ikan and the crispy pork rinds. If you want to make an inference of my palate, I think these 2 are telling enough. Both with natural flavors, ultra strong umami, really addictive. But let's see which is the better one. My favorite snack in the world is Keropok ikan. Even after so many stacks, when I go back for another piece, right, the addictiveness just retakes me again. It's really smelly. There's no better word for it. But perhaps it's in my DNA that I enjoy this smelliness. That smelliness pushes the ceiling of how delicious snacks can be. Crispy pork rinds is still very good, but at this point, after having so many snacks and being a little full, the fact that it dries out your mouth becomes more obvious. So, the winner of the day, Keropok ikan. I don't know, what would you all have chosen amongst all 12? I reckon if we didn't do the group stage, Emping Melinjo might have gone quite far, but that was how the cards fell. Again, if you want to buy any of these snacks, you can find them in the Shopee links below or tagged in the video. It will bring you directly to Shopee. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys would like to see next. And also let me know who would have won the championships if you were the one judging. For me, it's Keropok ikan. I'm gonna finish this now. But for now, that's all I have for you guys this time. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!